It is going to cost you more if you break the parking rules in the city starting today. We're going to have more on that coming up tonight.
And 17-year-old Summer McIntosh has won her second gold at the Paris Games and her third medal at these Olympics. She's the apple of Canada's eye.
You're watching Live at 5.
Hello, I'm Beatrice Faisman.
And I'm Lena Latafat. Thank you for joining us here on Live at 5. We begin tonight with this. Police have identified human remains found in the Kawartha Lakes area as a missing Markham woman, and they've charged a man with her murder.
57-year-old Ying Zhang went missing from her place of work in Markham last Thursday. 26-year-old Changlin Yang is now charged with second-degree murder and indignity to a dead body. He was previously charged with kidnapping, forcible confinement, and aggravated assault. Police believe that Zhang was assaulted at her workplace and placed in a green bin that was dumped at the side of the road.
Evidence that we had from the initial scene was that our suspect or charged party rather, had gone to her workplace. We do have evidence that an assault took place inside. We also know that the white van that we'd seen in the Kirkfield area, as well as that green bin, were in the area of the offense at the time. We know that in the afternoon of the 25th, that van traveled to the Kirkfield area. Through the investigation, we were able to make an arrest the following day. And unfortunately, we discovered the body of Ms. Zhang on Monday in that green bin in the area that we had narrowed the search down to.
And for a closer look at this investigation, we're joined live by our crime analyst, Steve Ryan. So, Steve, second-degree murder charge, not first-degree. Help us understand that.
So, first-degree murder is committed when there is grounds to believe that you committed a kidnapping and a murder. That equates to first-degree murder. The fact that they've your police laid a second-degree murder right now suggests a couple of things. Number one, they haven't firmed up the kidnapping yet, or they've laid the second-degree murder just to get the ball rolling, to get this guy before the courts. They can always upgrade to first-degree at any time.
Police told us today that this woman was targeted. That's the word they used. What does that tell you about, I guess, the circumstances leading up to first her disappearance, or first, I guess, her assault that police suspected in the wellness center, then her disappearance, and then led their search out to Kirkfield?
So it almost equates to a first degree based on the planning and deliberation. The fact that the allegations are that the 26-year-old accused went to her work, took a van, had a green bin, and then disposed of her body up in Kawartha on the 25th. And we know that because the police, after they arrested him on the 27th, they were able to trace his whereabouts later on in the evening on the 25th, and they located him, or were believed anyways, that he was up in the Kawartha's area, and that's how they're able to go to that location and find this woman's remains as quickly as they did.
You're obviously trying to connect the dots here, Steve. As an outsider looking in, you've obviously worked on a number of homicides throughout your career. This woman was 57, this man much younger, in his 20s. That gives you reason to believe there may be more suspects out there. Tell me why.
Yeah, you've got a 26-year-old accused, a 57-year-old woman. The police say that this was a targeted occurrence. What would possess a 26-year-old person on their own to abduct and kill a 57-year-old woman? It certainly does leave the possibilities out there that there is a third party that's involved in this as well. And this could be why the police are releasing limited information right now, because they are working on trying to identify who the second suspect may be.
All right, that's our crime analyst, Steve Ryan, live in studio. Steve, thanks for this.
Thanks, Steve.
Let's get a check on the roads this afternoon with Heather Seaman.
Hi there. Well, it's a busy drive across the city. You'll find busy on all the major routes, the 400 series highways, the 401 at Dufferin. You can see both sides, express and collectors busy. Busiest section right now on the 401 between the 427 and the 404. Again, that volume alternates express and collectors. We had an earlier crash. It's out of camera view right now, but it's blocking all lanes. Highway 7 westbound at Brock Road. So just a heads up about that. 404 southbound. Let's see. 404 southbound is really jamming up from about Finch to south of Lawrence. Speaking about Lawrence, we had a crash southbound Don Valley Parkway before Lawrence, a collision off to the left shoulder. I'm seeing this vehicle here, not sure if that's part of the crash, but do drive carefully through that stretch. And off the major routes may still have that collision cleanup, Yonge Street, south of Steeles. That's it. Back to you.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
A father and son accused of planning a serious violent attack here in Toronto have made their first court appearance this afternoon. Ahmed El-Didi and Mustafa El-Didi appeared in court virtually. Both of them were remanded into custody until their next court date on August 7th. They're facing terrorism-related charges, as well as conspiracy to commit murder and weapon possession for a dangerous purpose. The RCMP told us yesterday that when they were arrested, the RCMP recovered an axe and a machete as well. The father also, by the way, charged with aggravated assault connected to a 2015 incident.
10 people are facing a total of 108 charges in a $1 million fraud scheme.
The SIM swap type scam involves suspects taking over cell phone accounts, usually by impersonating a customer at a cellular store or using fraudulent IDs. The new SIM card is then placed in another phone, and the suspects are able to gain access to bank accounts or social media accounts, usually through weaknesses in two-factor authentication. Over 1,500 cellular accounts throughout this country are known to have been compromised.
In this scheme, individuals compromise an unsuspecting victim's cell phone by switching the SIM card associated with the account, either by impersonating the customer at a cell phone store or otherwise gaining access to the account. Once they have access, they can receive any emails or texts related to password recovery or changes, and thus access and compromise any other accounts associated with the victim, such as online banking and social media accounts.
Many of these go unreported just because, strictly speaking, when the victims see what happens, they just see a fraud happening to their bank account. They don't actually see that a SIM swap occurred. They don't know because they just saw a minor temporary outage. Everything gets switched back to their phone, but they've lost funds from their bank account. They've lost cryptocurrency from their crypto accounts. They've lost access to their social media, and they don't know why.
And police are also looking for 2 suspects wanted in this investigation. 47-year-old Nadia Campitelli is wanted for fraud, intercepting private communications, and breach of probation. 26-year-old Hervine Umatijima is wanted for fraud, impersonation with intent, mischief with computer data, identity theft, and using a forged document.
Let's talk parking now. Bigger fines are coming for more than 120 parking violations. They're in effect as of today.
Let's go live to CP24's Lindsay Biscaya, who's in downtown Toronto tonight, standing by with the latest reaction. What are you hearing from drivers, Lindsay?
Yeah, well, Lena and Beatrice, I think most people, not exactly happy to be seeing tickets increasing. No one wants to pay more at a time when they feel like they're already paying quite a bit. But there's 2 sides to this. A lot of people recognize the safety side of this, what the city is trying to do when it comes to easing congestion, easing traffic in the downtown core, because that's what some of these fines are about. So from now on, if you park on a road and you don't pay at a meter, you are going to pay $50 in fines if you get a ticket. That's up from $30 in the past. Obviously, there's been conversations about people not paying for parking because it's actually cheaper to just risk the fine or just risk a ticket and not pay. But now the city is trying to kind of quash that. Another big one that we're really focusing on today that's been a topic of conversation is bicycle lanes. So from now on, if you park in a bicycle lane or if you obstruct it in any way, same with footpaths and trails around the city, you are going to be fined $200. That's up from $60. And this comes, of course, after quite a tragedy last week when a 24-year-old cyclist was struck and killed on Bloor Street. So we did hear from Mayor Olivia Chow today about these enforcement changes and what that means for the city. Have a listen.
The parking fines, then you actually park in a parking lot. That makes no sense. It's also about saving lives. If you park on a bike lane, if some kid or young person, they're not that experienced, there's a car in front of them or dump trucks, and when they are on the bike lane, when they have to cut out, they could get killed. In fact, one did. A cyclist was killed at 24 years old.
So increasing these fines could have some serious positive implications, and I think a lot of people, Lena and Beatrice, do recognize that. And also when it comes to kind of just clearing traffic, from now on, if you stop within an intersection, that fine has gone up from $60 to $200. So there's a lot of things that the city is trying to do to get people moving, also to maybe even try to persuade people not to even drive cars, to take their bike or to walk or to use transit. So a larger conversation here, though, is whether these fines will be enforced. That has still yet to be seen, because many people say it's great that we're raising fines to try to stop, cyclist fatalities, for example. But if these fines are not enforced, then really what's the point? So we'll have to wait and see. Again, all of this just went into effect today. Back to you.
All right, that's our Lindsay Biscay reporting live from Queen Street. Lindsay, thanks for this.
It is 5:10, 29 degrees. You're watching Live at 5. Summer McIntosh has won another gold medal for Canada. The latest from the Paris Games. That's coming up.
Well, she is Canada's swimming phenom, and now Summer McIntosh has won another gold medal for this country.
Yeah, the 17-year-old swimmer from Toronto has claimed her second gold of the Olympics, coming in first in the women's 200-meter butterfly final. McIntosh now has 3 medals in the Games, winning a bronze in the 400-meter freestyle and a gold medal in the 400-meter individual medley. Her win also marks the 8th medal for Canada in the Olympics. And Anne Ottenbreit-Mullard, the first Canadian woman to win an Olympic gold in swimming, says McIntosh made history at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. She was emotional when we talked about the win today.
When you are intrinsically motivated and you're in control, you are self-aware of all the tasks that have to happen. So you are able to focus on the task at hand. So at no point does she sort of lose her focus and lose her ability to stay on task because of nerves and pressure and all that sort of stuff. She's aware of what she can do and she just applies it. It's amazing to watch that.
And from the pool to the boxing ring, Wyatt Sanford has guaranteed Canada's first medal in Olympic boxing since 1996. The 25-year-old beat the athlete from Uzbekistan in the quarterfinals. In Olympic boxing, the losers of the 2 semifinals are automatically awarded bronze and don't have to fight for the medal. Sanford's semifinal bout is on Sunday morning.
Corey Connors has completed his first round in Olympic golf. The 32-year-old Listowel, Ontario native finished 3 under par. Connors is one of 2 Canadians in the field.
And Nick Taylor is the other Canadian, carded a 1 under in his first round. A Canadian has not won an Olympic golf medal since 1904.
And Canada's women's basketball team has fallen to 0-2 after a 70-65 loss to Australia. The Canadians are now unlikely to advance out of their group. Their final game, that Sunday, against Nigeria.
It is 5:14, 29 degrees, feeling more like a steamy 38 out there. You're watching Live at 5. Coming up, we'll take a look at the new mortgage rules that have gone into effect as of today.
Welcome back. Premier Doug Ford has confirmed he will not be moving provincial electoral boundaries today. Take a look.
Will you be realigning the provincial riding boundaries to match the... No. You didn't even let me get it out. No. Can you explain why?
Because why change something that works? It works. So it's all good. Just because the feds want to do it, jury-rig the ridings, and it's no secret. People do that. Governments do that. I'm not doing it.
Pretty quick no there. Experts say changing the boundaries likely would have led to the Ford government getting rid of a downtown Liberal seat and gaining some in the 905. But the Premier says he won't be asking for riding boundaries to be redrawn to match the federal ones. It's still unclear whether Ford will call an early election next summer or even in the fall.
Let's go over to Mississauga now, where City Council there has approved a $44 million program to encourage more affordable rental housing. The plan includes grants for homeowners and developers. The city says the goal is to increase Mississauga's supply of affordable and below-market rental units in multi-unit buildings, as well as gentle density units like basement apartments, garden suites, triplexes, and fourplexes in lower density areas. Applications for the grant program will be accepted starting in the fall.
Well, a group of Ontario housing developers wants governments to help build more homes by reducing taxes. The new group, called the Coalition Against New Home Taxes, or CANT, is composed of 18 developers who collectively plan to build 100,000 new housing units over the next decade. The coalition wants to see federal and provincial governments remove the harmonized sales tax on all new housing, as they've done for rental housing construction. It would also like the province and the City of Toronto to eliminate the land transfer tax on new construction homes.
A set of new mortgage rules are now in effect starting today, giving new home buyers more time to pay back their loans. First-time home buyers will now be given 30 years to pay off an insured mortgage, a step up from 25 years. However, the new rules will only apply to newly built homes. Experts say the new rules are not enough to get more young people in the housing market, and progress will come when the Bank of Canada lowers interest rates. Mortgage broker and the COO of mortgageoutlet.ca, Leah Zlatkin, says those looking to enter the housing market might benefit more from buying pre-built homes.
Many first-time homebuyers actually do benefit from buying something that's pre-built. And the reason for that is that they can put down a down payment or a deposit right now, and they still have a little bit of time before they actually move in. So it allows for them some time to save up in the meantime while they're waiting for that condo to be completed. So for a lot of these homeowners, it might be the right choice. You know, certainly there aren't a lot of properties under the $1 million mark, but the properties that we're looking at where you're going to get a 30-year amortization are going to have a loan to value of between 80.01 and 95%.
Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland announced the rules as part of the federal budget, which was unveiled in April.
Cancer rates are increasing among Gen X and millennials, and scientists want to get to the bottom of why that is. American Cancer Society researchers, well, they found higher cancer rates among those groups compared to older generations. The research published in The Lancet says the increase may reflect better diagnostic testing, but the authors want to examine lifestyle or even environmental factors. Obesity is a known risk factor for at least 10 of the cancers occurring more frequently.
Get ready to pay more for your OJ. A disease is forcing you to shell out more cash for the citrus beverage. The tree disease is known as citrus greening, and it's threatening the entire orange juice industry from Florida to California. Orange juice prices are already up 80% in the last 4 years.
It is 5:20, 29 degrees. You're watching Live at 5. Coming up, some of the city's pools have had to close because of issues related to humidity. We're still under that heat warning. We'll be right back. Well, it is that time of year again. Toronto Caribbean Carnival festivities kicking off tonight with the King and Queen showcase. That's one of my favorites.
Let's go live now to CP24's Sijaloo on the X grounds for a preview. She is not in her masked costume this afternoon.
No, I will definitely not be the star of the show, but the mask costumes that you're about to see for the King and Queen Carnival will be the epitome of carnival costumes. So it's still quite quiet here. Things don't get underway until about 7 o'clock, but we'll give you a view of the landscape. So this is where the King and Queen representatives will be walking up the stage. And these costumes, it takes up to a year to design, months to make, carefully created, made by hand, and they're pretty big too. Some of them will stretch across the whole width of the stage. So there are different mass band leaders, and they will pick a male and female representative to wear their costumes, and then they will walk on this stage, dance, show off their costume, and a panel of judges sitting here towards the right will critique them. And the judging panel is made out of all different people, professionals in all different industries, judging their creativity, craftsmanship, artistic expression. So they'll come on stage, they'll dance, and by around 11:30 p.m. is when the judges will make their decision. And to give you a bit of background when it comes to the King and Queen Festival, it's a tradition that started in Trinidad and Tobago, which is the birthplace of Carnival. It came to Toronto in 1957, and it was a gift from the Caribbean community to this country for its centennial celebration. And the event has just been getting bigger and bigger every year. So this is the stage you're walking up. You can see the bleachers. These will be filled in just a few hours, but this is definitely rally, an exciting kickoff to the Grand Parade on Saturday, where you'll see all the beautiful costumes. And then around 11:30 tonight, the King and Queen will be crowned, and those two costumes will be the epitome of the carnival this year. Back to you.
Yeah, all of the costumes are just incredible.
And they take months.
Yeah, so much work goes behind that. Okay, Sijalu, thanks so much. We'll check in with you soon. Well, Toronto is marking the start of Emancipation Month with the raising of the Black Liberation flag at City Hall. The flag was created by Marcus Garvey in 1920 and meant to be a symbol of strength and unity. It doesn't represent just one nation. It's meant to actually honor the shared heritage and relationships between the Africa diaspora. The flag's three colors each have a strong meaning.
I look at that flag. The red covers the history, the bloodshed, the violence. But the black, you remind us, is all color. It's the unity. But it reminds me of a word, power. Power. Power from freedom of oppression. Power of freedom of injustice.
The Black experience in Toronto is slowly changing. I'm part of that change, and I will continue to do my part to ensure that the future evolves positively. As the chair of the city's Confronting Anti-Black Racism Advisory Committee, I am now working with staff on the new 10-year Anti-Black Racism Action Plan. Yes, indeed. Which will become the longest anti-Black racism mandate and strategy in the country.
The city is also launching a public education campaign called Confront the Past, Change the Future, which focuses on the legacies of the transatlantic slave trade.
Well, a heat warning remains in place for the city and much of the GTA.
Yeah, many pools across the city are being impacted by the high temps. Blantyre Pool and John Innes Community Rec Center are among several pools forced to close because of mechanical issues caused by humidity. The city says it'll be extending the hours of several pools until 11:45 p.m. to help people cool down during the current heat warning. A full list of the pools impacted can be found on the city's website. Environment Canada says a cooler air mass is expected to arrive by tonight.
And the city's announced significant upgrades to Lamoureux Kids Town Water Park. That's in Scarborough. The upgrades will include many new additions to the water park, like a leisure pool with a spiral water slide, a new waterfall area, and an expanded parking space. The city-owned water park has been closed for the season as it undergoes its first phase of construction, which is set to be completed by next summer.
Sure, it'll be great for the kids out there in Scarborough. It is 5:28, 29 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
Police identify human remains as a Markham woman who went missing a week ago today, and they've charged a man with her murder. The latest on this investigation coming right up.
Police identify human remains as a Markham woman who went missing a week ago today.
It's going to cost you more if you break the parking rules in the city beginning today. We're going to chat with drivers. That's coming up.
And 17-year-old Summer McIntosh has won her second gold at the Paris Games and her third medal at these Olympics.
This is Live at 5. Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Lena Latifa.
And I'm Beatrice Faisman. Welcome to Live at 5. Well, bigger fines for more than 120 parking violations have gone into effect today.
Let's go live to CP24's Lindsay Biscaya, who's standing by with more on these rules and the reaction to them. Lindsay.
Yeah, and we've heard from the mayor, Olivia Chow, today, Lena and Beatrice, saying that this is something she's not willing to apologize for. She says she feels this needs to happen in the city. This was approved back in April. As you mentioned, it goes into effect today. So we're talking about a lot of things that are supposed to kind of ease traffic, ease congestion in the city, especially when it comes to impeding traffic, getting in the way. Say you stop in the middle of an intersection. The fine for that in the past was $60. Now it's $200. If you park in a meter and you don't pay, the fine used to be $30. Now it will be $50. So also, we've heard that conversation before where a lot of people say, you know, they would rather risk getting a ticket than actually paying for parking because it's cheaper that way. And the city has taken note of that, and now they're trying to do something about it. Another big one that's been a real talking point over the last couple of weeks is bicycle lanes. Now, if you park in a bicycle lane or if you obstruct it in any way, same with footpaths, you are going to be fined $200. That's up from $60. And this, of course, comes after that really tragic situation last week where a 24-year-old cyclist was struck and killed on Bloor Street, the 5th cyclist to be killed this year. So this is not only about trying to ease traffic in this city, but it's also about the safety of pedestrians and cyclists. And we have been asking people what they think about this. And here's what they had to say.
I think it just drive people away from downtown. I'll not come down unless I'm absolutely have to.
I don't really believe it, but I guess this is the line they're taking.
I think it's pretty high. I feel the city should be fair, considering the inflation rate and everything. I understand they want to reduce congestion, but I still think they should be fair.
So the fines are high, but the hope is that people will really pay attention to them now. Also, the city hoping that maybe this deters people from driving cars in downtown Toronto. Maybe they'll try to take transit or walk or cycle instead. But a lot of people saying, you know, for at least for the bicycle lanes, enforcing not obstructing them, not parking in them is a really great start, but you have to actually enforce it. You can't just raise the fine, so we'll have to wait and see if that happens. And that, as I mentioned, it starts today, August 1st. Back to you.
All right, Lindsay Biscayne reporting live on Queen Street. Lindsay, thank you. And from parking fines to just gridlock traffic here in the city, let's check in with Heather Seaman. How's it looking, Heather?
Yeah, it's really heavy out there. We're seeing a lot of volume. All the major routes are busy. Here's a look at the 401 through Kipling. That's what it's like across much of the 401. Again, it alternates express and collectors. It's busy between the 427 and the 404. The 401 at Dufferin, again, giving you an idea of how busy it is. Also in Pickering, much improved there through Brock Road. Let's take a look at the southbound 404. That is really jammed up from about Finch to south of Lawrence, northbound Don Valley Parkway. That is jamming up again from Dundas to north of Lawrence. In town, westbound Gardner. We have a lot of volume at Jarvis. From about Jarvis to Strawn, we had a crash at Lower Jarvis. That is since cleared, so traffic is still quite busy there. And in town, just getting word of a crash that is cleared northbound Bayview at Rosedale Valley Road. And also a fire investigation has Bay Street closed both ways between College Street to Gerrard. That's it for traffic. Back to you.
All right, Heather, thanks so much for this. To another story we are keeping a really close eye on. Police have now identified human remains found in the Kawartha Lakes area as a missing Markham woman, and they've charged a man with her murder. 57-year-old Ying Zhang went missing from her place of work in Markham. That was last Thursday. 26-year-old Changlin Yang is now charged with second-degree murder and indignity to a dead body. He was previously charged with kidnapping, forcible confinement, and aggravated assault. Police believe Zhang was assaulted at her workplace, a wellness center, and placed in a green bin that was dumped at the side of the road.
We do believe that this was targeted, and we do believe this is an isolated incident. In terms of motivation of the offense and how the two knew each other, this is something that's going to be unfolding over the next several months. While it's an unfortunate circumstance that we were finding any deceased person in this time frame, only 5 days in, this is very early stages for a murder investigation.
For a closer look now at this investigation, we're joined live here in studio by CP24's crime analyst, Steve Ryan. Steve, as far as this investigation goes, I mean, you've been telling us all day that automatically a kidnapping charge or allegation leads to a first-degree murder charge. Why do you think York Police have not gone there yet?
Well, a couple of reasons. They may still be working on firming up the kidnapping charge itself. So if you kill somebody, you kidnap somebody and kill them, that equates to first-degree murder. But you need to have a affirmed belief that there was a kidnapping involved. So it's either that's happened, or they just wanted to lay a charge right now, get it before the courts, get the whole the ball rolling, if you will, and they could always upgrade that charge to a first-degree murder down the road.
Steve, the details are beyond disturbing. Police here are alleging that this woman was kidnapped, assaulted, dumped in a garbage bin, and then her remains were dumped at the side of the road. What do you think they could be looking at in terms of a potential motive here?
So first off, you don't need a motive to prove murder, but motive certainly does help provide a lot of answers. So the initial information was that not only did they have the white van at her work, but they also had information that there was a green bin. Police put out a press release asking for people to have a lookout for a green bin on wheels. So clearly there is video surveillance or an eyewitness who put the car, the accused, and the bin together at her work. And obviously that bin was used to dispose her body and dump it off the side of a road up in Kawartha Lakes.
Police have been very careful at this point. They haven't revealed what the connection is between the accused and this 57-year-old woman. They haven't said if there's a familial relation, if they had seen each other before, interacted before. Why do you think they're withholding that piece of information or keeping it so close to their vest at this point?
So that could be for investigative reasons why they are not disclosing that information. But they did say that this was targeted. So there is some sort of connection between the 26-year-old accused and the 57-year-old woman. What that connection is, we don't know. But this wasn't a random one-off. It was planned, so there was some relationship between the two of them. What that was, we'll find out. But there may also be a third party involved in this as well, and this may be why they are not disclosing any of the information, because they're working on another suspect, perhaps.
All right, Steve Ryan, live in studio. Always appreciate your insights, Steve. Thanks so much for this.
Thank you.
538, 29 degrees. This is Live at 5. 10 people have been arrested and more than 100 charges laid in a SIM swap scam. We're going to tell you more about that next.
A motorcyclist has died after an overnight crash on Highway 427.
It happened on the northbound off-ramp to Rathburn around 2:45 this morning. OPP say the male rider was found off of the highway and pronounced dead in hospital. Officers are trying to figure out what happened, but police say road and weather conditions aren't believed to be factors.
Meantime, 10 people are facing a total of 108 charges in a $1 million fraud scheme.
The SIM swap type scam involves suspects taking over cell phone accounts, usually by impersonating a customer at a cellular store using fraudulent IDs. The new SIM card then placed in another phone, and the suspects are then able to gain access to bank accounts or social media accounts, usually through weaknesses in two-factor authentication. Over 1,500 cellular accounts throughout Canada are known to have been compromised.
What we have found that they work in groups. From other investigations too, we've seen that they have multiple layers that they work together. They'll have a person that can socially engineer, a person that will make the phone call, the person that will transfer from one to another. But then there's another person usually in the background that might be a computer tech-savvy person that could answer those questions, that could go in the background, that knows how to access social media, knows how to take over those passwords, break into accounts. More or less kind of like a hacker. They're able to do that stuff in the background. It's usually several layers involved of people doing these investigations.
In other instances, the perpetrators gained access to cell phone accounts using phishing techniques, such as false web links and websites. It's important to note this investigation began with reports from multiple telecom companies, and that since the inception of Project Disrupt, the telecom companies have instituted additional security features and collaborated fully with TPS to help fight this fraud.
Police are also looking for 2 suspects wanted in connection to this investigation. The woman on your screen is 47-year-old Nadia Campitelli. She's wanted for fraud, intercepting private communications, and breach of probation. 26-year-old Hervine Umutijima is wanted for fraud, impersonation with intent, mischief with computer data, identity thefts using a forged document.
A father and son accused of planning a serious violent attack in Toronto made their first court appearance this afternoon.
Ahmed El-Didi and Mustafa El-Didi, pictured here in these court sketches, appeared in court virtually. Both of them have now been remanded into custody until their next court date, scheduled for August 7th. They're facing terrorism-related charges, as well as conspiracy to commit murder and weapon possession for a dangerous purpose. The father is also charged with aggravated assault dating back from an incident in 2015 outside of this country.
And police are looking for a man after an alleged sex assault on a trail in Brampton. That's the photo of the suspect wanted in connection with the incident that happened on Tuesday afternoon on Chinguacousy Trail near Central Park Drive. According to police, a man allegedly followed a woman and sexually assaulted her. The suspect, described as a black man between 20 and 30 years old with a slim build and dark hair. He was last seen wearing a blue and purple baseball cap, black T-shirt, gray basketball shorts, and white shoes. Anybody with information has to get in touch.
Police have now released an image of a suspect wanted after a storage shed was lit on fire outside of a school near Cedarvale Park. 34-year-old Mark Anthony Delacruz is wanted for arson. The incident happened just before 4 a.m. on Tuesday at the Leo Beck Day School near Arlington and Durham Avenues. Police say the suspect allegedly set the shed on fire after his belongings were removed by school staff. Investigators are asking anyone with information about his whereabouts to come forward.
It's 5:44, 29 degrees. This is Live at 5. Coming up, the U.S. and Russia have exchanged prisoners in a high profile that includes a former U.S. Marine with a Canadian connection. Welcome back. The United States and Russia have completed a massive prisoner swap that includes 2 high-profile Americans.
Wall Street journalist Evan Gershkovich and former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan are on their way back to America. Gershkovich was arrested in March 2023 while on a reporting trip. Whelan, who holds multiple citizenships, including Canadian, was detained at a Moscow hotel in December 2018. The release of the Americans comes at a price as Russia secured the freedom of its own nationals convicted of serious crimes.
It's an incredible relief for all the family members gathered here. It's a relief to the friends and colleagues all across the country who've been praying for this day for a long time. The deal that made this possible was a feat of diplomacy and friendship. Multiple countries helped get this done. They joined the difficult, complex negotiations at my request, and I personally thank them all again. And I've thanked them personally, and I'll thank them again. All told, Russia has released 16 prisoners.
So, as for the Canadian reaction to this, the Prime Minister is now reacting to the hostage exchange. In fact, he tweeted this, saying the release of Paul Whelan, Vladimir Kara-Murza, Evan Gershkovich, and 13 more political prisoners is an immense relief. They were unjustly detained by Russia, and their freedom long overdue. These men and women are rejoining their families and loved ones, but the fight for free political expression in Russia is far from over.
The White House says Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny was supposed to be part of the prisoner exchange before he died in prison.
We had been working with our partners on a deal that would have included Alexei Navalny, and unfortunately he died. In fact, on the very day that he died, I saw Evan's parents. And I told them that the president was determined to get this done, even in light of that tragic news, and that we were going to work day and night to get to this day. And so that work continued over the course of the past few months and culminated in today.
This exchange was the biggest prisoner swap since the Cold War.
Yeah, historic. A funeral procession was held in Tehran today for top Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh.
Iran's supreme leader led prayers over the coffins of the Hamas leader and his bodyguard who were killed in an assassination on Wednesday. The Palestinian terror group describes the attack as a severe escalation and blames an Israeli airstrike for the death of the head of the group's political bureau.
5:50, 29 degrees. This is Toronto's breaking news, CP24. You're watching Live at 5. Coming up, Toronto Caribbean Carnival festivities kick off tonight with the King and Queen Showcase. We'll take you there live right after this.
Summer McIntosh has won another gold medal for this country.
The 17-year-old swimmer from Toronto has claimed her second gold of the Olympics, coming in first in the women's 200-meter butterfly final. McIntosh now has 3 medals in the games, winning a bronze in the 400-meter freestyle and a gold medal in the 400-meter individual medley. Her win also marks the 8th medal for Canada in the Olympics. And this was really special. We spoke with Anne Ottenbright-Mullard. She's the first Canadian woman to win an Olympic gold in swimming. And she says McIntosh made history at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. She was actually quite emotional. Take a listen.
It's fantastic. It's something to be incredibly proud of. She is an intrinsically motivated athlete that is self-aware and calm and controlled and can stand up and race at any time, any place, anywhere. She's the girl.
All right, let's go to the boxing ring now because we've got another medal coming. Wyatt Sanford has guaranteed Canada's first medal in Olympic boxing since 1996. It's been a while coming. The 25-year-old beat Uzbekistan's boxer in the quarterfinals in Olympic boxing. The loser of the two semifinals are automatically awarded bronze, and they don't have to fight for the medal. Sanford's semifinal bout is on Sunday morning.
Toronto Caribbean Carnival festivities kick off tonight with the King and Queen Showcase. Always a big party there.
Oh, for sure. Let's go live now to CP24's Sija Liu on the X grounds for a preview of the big party. I think I can. Is that music I hear in the background, Sija? There's lots of that at Caribbean Carnival.
Yeah, it's starting to get busy here. The music started playing about an hour ago, and we can see some of the spectators coming in to look at the wonderful costumes that will be on display tonight. This is the King and Queen Showcase, so you'll have mass bands, have a male and female representative show off the epitome of their costume. And I have a very special guest joining us today, the one and only Jess Smith. You might recognize her. She is also the host of today's event. And Jess, this is not your first time hosting, so what can we expect?
The costumes are big and bright and a celebration of culture. It's one of my favorite things about the King and Queen Showcase is you see every single island represented, and these people take months to put these things together. Some of these costumes span the entire size of the stage, and it's just the coolest thing to see people come together and really show off the work they've been putting into it and the vision behind each of the mass bands.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see behind us, there are trucks pulling up right now. That just shows you how big those costumes are. Talk to us about the carnival in general, the weekend, and just the vibe it brings to the city.
It brings in people from all over the world that come specifically to the city of Toronto to this carnival because they love it. And really every single year it is that celebration of history and culture and what the carnival means to the city of Toronto and really to the country because people come from all over the world. That was my favorite part last year, was talking to people that flew in that specifically carve out in their calendar every year the Toronto Caribbean Carnival. And I'm hosting again the King and Queen Showcase with DJ SKF, and we have so much fun. And we've seen people come in all day. Just talked to a woman, she's 85 years old, but she's been coming to the festival since its inception. Wow. And she just said this is her thing every single summer that she plans out in her calendar and brings her entire family to. And that's, I think, one of the special things about this is people make this a tradition. This is part of their summer tradition. This is their thing that they do every August.
Love that. 85 years old. I mean, with this wonderful music, you can't help but dance no matter what age you are. So back to you guys.
I love what Jess said about how this is a celebration of history and culture, and it really means so much to our city. Sija, thanks so much, and thanks, Jess. Well, on that note, Toronto is marking the start of Emancipation Month with the raising of the Black Liberation flag at City Hall.
The flag was created by Marcus Garvey in 1920 and meant to be a symbol of strength and unity. It doesn't represent just one nation, but it's meant to honor the shared heritage and relationships between the African diaspora. The flag's three colors each have a strong meaning.
We see those injustices. We feel the systemic racism. And that is, Black reminds me of power. The power when we come together to say no to hate. The power for us to come together and say no to discrimination. Whether it's in justice system or in the economic system, there are injustice and discrimination.
In the more than 190 years since emancipation, there has been advancements for Black people in North America, with more than that is needed and can be done. I feel extremely privileged to live in Toronto. Despite our motto, diversity our strength, our diverse population is not immune to hate. This is why commemorating Emancipation Month is as important today as it has always been. The raising of the Black Liberation flag continues to be an international symbol of the strength we can all share in unity.
An important day. The city is also launching a public education campaign entitled Confront the Past, Change the Future, and that focuses on the legacies of the transatlantic slave trade.
Meantime, Italian jets painted the skies above Toronto this afternoon.
The Italian Air Force aerobatic team is visiting our city for the first time in nearly 40 years as part of their North American tour. The journey began last month in Italy and included stops in Iceland and Greenland before arriving in Quebec last week. The main goal of the air show is to showcase the capabilities of Italy's highly technological and forward-thinking Air Force.
And it looks pretty cool in the sky as well.
Sure
It
does.
is 5:59, 29 degrees. You're watching Toronto's breaking news, CP24.
Just a reminder, it's feeling much hotter than that. 36 if you factor in the humidity. Thanks so much for joining us. CTV News at 6. That's next.